rain tapped gently against the glass windows of a quiet Seattle afternoon. The city was calm, too calm, as if the air itself was holding its breath. A black luxury car slowed to a stop by a cozy cafe. The door opened and a woman stepped out, elegant, poised, and confident. Her name was Aisha Brown, a black woman in her mid-30s, dressed in a sharp gray suit carrying a leather folder. There was calm power in her walk, the kind that comes from discipline, not arrogance. As she entered the cafe, conversation softened, eyes turned toward her. Some people smiled politely, others didn't. But Aisha didn't flinch. She had seen those looks before, the kind that measured people by color, not character. She sat at a corner table, opened her laptop, and joined a video call. Her voice was steady, professional. "Yes, Director Harris, the reports are complete. I'll present them tomorrow at the federal conference." Her tone carried authority, calm but commanding. Clearly, this wasn't an ordinary woman. Across the cafe sat a white man in a police jacket, Officer Greg Miller, off-duty but alert. He watched her over his coffee, frowning. Something about her confidence bothered him. He leaned toward the barista and whispered, "You know her?" "Looks out of place, doesn't she?" The barista shrugged. "No clue, sir. Maybe she's just working." Miller stared again, suspicion hardening into bias. Aisha ended her call, gathered her things, and stepped outside to take another phone call. The rain had stopped, but the pavement still shimmered. Then came the voice behind her. "Ma'am, can I ask what you're doing here?" She turned around slowly. "I'm sorry, is there a problem?" "This is private property," Miller said sharply. "Residents only." "I was just having coffee," Aisha replied calmly. Miller's eyes landed on the small badge hanging from her purse. It said FBI. He smirked. "Fake badges are everywhere these days." Aisha raised an eyebrow. "You might want to check your facts before jumping to conclusions, officer." He didn't like her tone. He grabbed his radio. "Need backup. Possible trespasser. Claims to be with the Bureau." Minutes later, another patrol car arrived. A young female officer stepped out. Officer Samantha, unsure but obedient. Miller said loudly, "Caught her loitering. Says she's FBI." Samantha frowned. "Maybe she is. Shouldn't we verify first?" "We'll verify after she's in custody," Miller snapped. Aisha's voice was calm but firm. "You're making a mistake, officer." Miller stepped closer. "We'll see who's making a mistake." He grabbed her wrist roughly and cuffed her. A small crowd formed. Phones were raised. A teenager shouted, "She didn't do anything, man." Miller turned red. "Step back or you're next." Aisha didn't resist. Her eyes stayed steady, even as humiliation spread across her face. She whispered under her breath, "You'll regret this." At the station, the atmosphere was colder. Aisha sat quietly in an interrogation room. Plain walls, a table, 2 chairs, a camera. Miller walked in, holding his coffee like a trophy. "So, Miss Brown, or whatever your name is, want to tell me why you were trespassing?" Aisha looked straight at him. "I told you. I was working. But I suppose my word doesn't count for much." Miller chuckled. "You people always play the victim card. It's getting old." Her phone buzzed on the table. He snatched it up and glanced at the screen. A message read, "Meeting confirmed. FBI HQ Seattle branch, 5 p.m. Before he could question her again, the door swung open. Captain Reese entered, an older commanding man with fury written across his face. "Miller, what the hell have you done?" Miller blinked, confused. "Sir, Reese slammed a file on the table. "Do you even know who this woman is? This is Special Agent Aisha Brown, assigned to federal investigations in this city." Miller froze. His coffee nearly slipped from his hand. His face turned pale. I didn't know." Reese glared at him. "That's the problem. You didn't want to know." Aisha slowly stood up, the cuffs still on her wrists. Her voice was soft but cutting. "You never asked who I was, officer. You just saw my skin." The room fell silent. The ticking of the wall clock echoed like judgment. For the first time, Miller's arrogance cracked. Shame began to seep into his eyes. Aisha looked at him for a long moment, then said, "This is exactly why we're still fighting for justice." Reese removed her cuffs. She picked up her badge, placed it on the table for a second, and looked at Miller again. "I'm not filing a complaint. Not today. I'd rather let you live with what you've done." She walked out of the room. The sound of her heels echoed down the hall. Outside, the rain had started again, soft, cleansing, relentless. She opened her car door, sat down, and closed her eyes for a moment. Inside the station, Miller stood by the door, staring at her through the glass. He was drenched, not from the rain, but from the weight of his own guilt. He had arrested a woman not because of her actions, but because of her color. Aisha's car disappeared into the rain. The city was quiet again. On the screen, a line appeared. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a mirror. The courtroom was silent. The air was heavy with tension. Every breath, every shuffle, every click of a pen echoed. Aisha sat in the witness box. Her hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from anger, from exhaustion, from the weight of injustice that had followed her since that night. The defense lawyer, a sharp-looking white man with cold eyes, smirked. "So, Miss Johnson," he said, leaning on the table, "you claim Officer Miller attacked you. Because of your skin color?" The words hung in the air, slicing through the courtroom like knives. Aisha looked up, meeting his gaze, unshaken. "No," she said, her voice steady. "He attacked me because he thought people like me don't deserve respect." A murmur rippled through the room. The judge banged her gavel. "Order in the court." Her friend Marcus was sitting in the back row, his fists clenched. He had been the one who found Aisha bleeding on the roadside that night, beaten, humiliated and framed for resisting arrest. He'd recorded the aftermath on his phone, footage that had gone viral and sparked protests across the city. Outside the courthouse, crowds gathered, some holding "Justice for Aisha" signs, others chanting, "No more silence." Reporters swarmed the steps, flashing cameras as helicopters hovered above. Inside, the prosecutor showed the video on the screen. The entire room watched in silence. Officer Miller's voice filled the speakers. "You people never learn, do you?" Then came the sound of the hit, the thud, and Aisha's cry. The video stopped. Aisha closed her eyes, tears silently falling. The judge looked pale. "Officer Miller," she said, turning toward him, "do you have anything to say for yourself?" Miller stood, his face red, his jaw tight. "I was just doing my job." She resisted arrest, but his voice wavered. The truth was cracking through his confidence like light through glass. Then suddenly, a man in the courtroom stood up. It was another police officer. "Your Honor," he said loudly, "I was there that night." She didn't resist. He lost control. Gasps filled the courtroom. Cameras turned. Miller's face turned white. The truth had finally surfaced. Outside, when the verdict came, guilty on all charges, the crowd roared. Aisha stepped outside the courthouse. The rain began to fall, soft and cleansing. She looked up, letting the drops wash away the pain, the fear, the anger. Marcus approached her quietly. "You did it," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "No," she said, "we did it. For every black woman who was silenced. For every name they tried to erase." The camera slowly zooms out. The courthouse behind her. The rain falling harder, the crowd chanting her name. Her silhouette stands strong, a symbol of defiance, courage, and change.